I'm here with Kevin Love. Well. Last time we did this, Kevin, we were in Aspen, actually beautiful Aspen. How
Yes, we
things have
were.
changed in a year, right? So quickly.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we would have been a year later or close to a year later in a situation like this. It just,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, even in the NBA climate, losing some of our legends like, David Stern and Kobe and Gianna, it's unbelievable how fast that life can turn and how fast it can change or just be taken from you on the drop of a dime. So I think it's really an unprecedented and crazy time, at least for the times that we've lived in. It's just crazy.
I think that we'll look back on this, we'll tell our kids, our grandkids,
Yeah.
it'll seem unbelievable, but everyone says history does repeat itself. And so we find ourselves in this pandemic, which is crazy because now what I feel, and you tell me how you feel about this, I feel like everyone's calling it a forced slowdown. Everyone's saying you're taking inventory of yourself and you're able to talk to your friends. I know every morning I wake up, I say a prayer that I'm grateful. And more importantly,
Yes.
I do a COVID check-in, whether it be
Yes.
text, over phone, I reach out to my loved ones. And I saw you post something. You've always been so vocal about mental health and so eloquent about it as well. And you posted something, you woke up one morning, I think it was like the first week in April, and I guess we had been in lockdown for almost 3 weeks, and it was just on your heart. And you started reading these stats about the
Yeah.
pandemic and mental health. Talk to me about what that was for you and why you felt so compelled to say something.
Well, I mean, a lot like sharing my story from the jump. I mean, we spoke, I think it was like 16, 18 months after I had exposed kind of what I'd gone through. DeMar was there as
Yeah.
well. So I think it's just continuing to learn and read and be a sponge for the pandemic that I feel like nobody's talking about, and that's mental health and mental illness. So it was news to me. For me, it was reading a New York Times article on isolation and more specifically loneliness. So I was reading those stats, seeing what it meant for people's long-term health, excuse me, and even just like a study on happiness. Like, you're going to look back and not wish you had
Yeah.
more money, or wish you had more fame. Even you're going to wish you you had those relationships that are near and dear to you. So you mentioned doing those self check-ins and checking in with other people as well and reaching out to them. Like, I've been trying to do a much better job of that. But when I was at on All-Stars Saturday this year in Chicago, I was sitting down with Chris Paul, I was sitting down with Giannis, I was sitting down with Michael Wilbon on a panel, and President Obama had brought up that it's such a social issue, and he had brought up loneliness, and he had brought up gun control, and those people that are lonely using those guns to then take their lives. And I had never thought of it really in that light as a social issue. So President Obama had opened my eyes to that in a major way. So I kept reading that more and more and more. And actually, before we came on here, like, I have my notes that I've been taking on various topics, excuse me, in terms of mental health. So it's unbelievable. It's going to have a profound effect coming out of this, and it's going to continue, I feel, to trend in the wrong direction as far as the numbers go. But I also think that we're going to come out of this changed, and we're going to have more tools and research in order to impact those people that are suffering.
How have you been handling it yourself, just personally? I know you are, as we say, quarantining. We've made it a verb. You have someone with you, but still, it's still a struggle.
No, it really is a struggle, and that's the craziest part about this is that and mental health is that it just doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, it doesn't care where you're from, your socioeconomic status, gender profile, race. No matter what it is, it can impact you. I mean, the saying goes, what mental illness is either in your family or it's not yet. So for me, I've been trying to do a lot like you had said, to go back to that, is just, in the morning, just do a self check-in. I mean, I think that's lost on some people, just taking a moment and not waking up and like looking directly at your phone for a second. Like, I'm so guilty of that, especially during the season, because I'm like, oh man, the reach, I got my alarm going off. I'm like, what's going on? And then immediately, like, that stress response is happening even before I go to practice, even before I, I'm a coffee drinker. So first cup of coffee. So for me, I've been like, I always assess how my body's feeling, what my body needs for today, because that's, keep the main thing the main thing. I'm always chasing basketball. I'm always chasing the game. And then, like, what does my mind need as well? So I've been really just trying to take deep breaths in the morning, set myself so that I'm giving myself kind of uh, a feeling of feeling grounded or balanced during this time, because I think that can be really lost on people as well. But making sure I'm getting a sweat, eating right, sleeping. I mean, sleeping has been very hard for me because, what happens when, during this time, you don't know what's coming the next day, the next week, the next month is, I'll try to go to bed and I'll think of the worst stuff that's happened to me for the last 10 years. So that anxiety is a lot, but I think, no matter who you are, you could definitely empathize with people, but also have to have the understanding that, there's people that have it so much worse than we do. So I'm just have so much gratitude and thankful for, also the frontline workers as well, that are allowing us to live these, some semblance of our day-to-day and everyday life. So you have to tip your hat and just have so much love and gratitude for them.
I've noticed something, and a lot of NBA players are doing this, and I'll start with you first, and then we'll talk about what's going on in the league. I noticed that you're doing so much for frontline workers. You're feeding your community. You're taking care of folks in Cleveland. And it's really, truly just like a love. You can tell you're not someone just called and said, hey, you care about it. Why is it so important to you? Because so many people get so consumed with themselves during this time.
Yeah, I had actually, it's funny. I'd actually done a 3-day seminar at UCLA last year, and it was about for the NBA. It was, kind of everybody working on their, what they're doing off of the court and how they're giving back to their community. So it was like the, acts of kindness, gifting. It was their foundations. It was working in that collective space. So, I was told to take care of your community first, take care of those people that are close to you, and then continue to build it out from there. So that way, and that's what I've been telling people too, like, they're like, oh, I can't help like you do. But I'm saying, like, it could be as easy as picking up the phone. It could be as easy as, just checking in on somebody, because we, as we talked about loneliness and that companionship earlier being lost on some people. But, for me, it was, okay, considering that we were the first major sports league to go on hiatus, or major sport to go on a hiatus, I was like, who can I take care of? Who's going to be impacted by this? And so immediately my mind went to, our everyday, our day-to-day workers, our event level workers, people who are there 41 games, out of the year at our arena, as well as working, on off nights, various events. So I thought, okay, they're part of my story. I'm gonna give back to them.
Yeah.
And then now it's progressed and transitioned and evolved into, okay, the frontline workers. Like, there's so many doctors and nurses. And so that evolves as well. So you get creative in finding ways to help. And for me, and I think everybody can say that too, whether it be anonymously or not, it feels good. It's a form of therapy. It really is a form of therapy, and it feels good. But I got to tip the hat to a number of guys in the league as well, whether it be, donating to local food banks or the World Health Organization, or, various hospitals. Like, guys have really stepped up and made a major impact in their communities. And because the NBA and sports, but basketball has such a reach and a commonality, that they've been able to make an impact in some ways, and in some cases globally.
When the NBA canceled the season, and it was so prompt, and Adam Silver made the response right away, then for a lot of folks, and I don't want to even just make it just our world, it became more real. You're like, it's hitting you. I had a chance to talk to DeMar. He said you guys are still just trying to figure it out. So you have a lot of Zoom calls and conference calls. And DeMar DeRozan was with us last year on this panel, and I told him I was doing this with you. You guys have a lot of conference calls. Where's the league at? Like, what's going to happen to your knowledge, or what do you think will happen?
No, I think we're really going to try and play. I feel that, and Adam Silver had said it. He had an address not too long. It was within the first 2 weeks of kind of our hiatus. And he said, no, we were the first team to move. We were the first team to say, okay, we're going to suspend the season, and we'll, see what happens moving forward with COVID-19. But he said, I think it'd be very cool and very important to be the first team that moves or the first league that moves and says, okay, we're going to get back to play, or we're going to get back to, so long as everybody's safe, get back to getting in our gyms and getting our facilities. And I think that's top of mind right now, trying to figure out, at what point and logistically what it's going to mean for teams that say are in New York to get back to practice and be able to congregate in the same space while still, just being healthy and making sure that they're safe and navigating a space like that. But I think that's what's really top of mind right now, because we're continuing to, make the baby steps to getting back to play. But, just like fans, I mean, we're fans too, but just like fans want to see us play and want to see us compete, like we want to, even if there's not fans in the stands to start with, like we know that so many people are going to be watching, and we're dying for that. I mentioned like The Last Dance. I mentioned like us watching, like we had Game 7 on the other night. There's other games where, we're tuning in, and there's old school like 80s, 90s games. We're all checking back on that. Like we're dying to get back, not only to compete, but to play for the fans. Cause it's just so, it's not lost on us that's needed right now. Like it's such an escape for people, but it's such a safe place for us as well. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing.
Sports tells every story. It unifies, it divides, brings you together. It does it all. Like we're itching for it. You're not the only one. A lot of people will be watching this, and you were honest about your struggles and also how you've been able to keep things in focus during this time. If people want to help, if they need help, any suggestions for them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, everything's kind of, I've been able to help in a major way. Everything's kind of gone through my fund, and we've been able to help the arena and the staff workers at Quicken Loans here in Cleveland. Been working with Project Frontline as well to help the frontline workers and delivering meals to them, while also working with a lot of very close day-to-day restaurants and people in the economy as well. So that's been great. But then in Mental Health Awareness Month coming up in May, we have so many cool things that we're rolling out. There's a big, can't expose it here yet, but you guys will get it. There's a big announcement that I have with UCLA as well, and their psych department. They've done an amazing job of helping with the fund. There's Bring Change to Mind, JK Living, who we've been working with as well, that have been great partners. Headspace, we've been doing a lot of work with them as well, where it's not just, they're not just a meditation app anymore. It's kind of all encompassing wellness app. But at the fund as well, we're working on stigma. We have 4 pillars. It's stigma, education. We got a lot of cool stuff coming with education. We have tools. I mentioned tools coming out of this, and people being able to stay engaged and maybe fight things like loneliness, and finding ways to have therapy be accessible to them, because it's typically at a cost, and costs a lot of money. So having people be more engaged and have that at arm's reach. And then 4th, we're doing a ton of research. Research is going to be, I get really excited talking about it. So definitely head over to the fund. We're going to be doing really, really amazing things, and we're working with a lot of people too. I think the relationships that we've made have been incredibly important. But May being Mental Health Awareness Month, like I said, is a big deal for us.
And this is great because this kicks off Mental Health Awareness Month. Say that 5 times fast, Kevin. Right. So Kevin, you're smart. You're a genius, namely because you went to UCLA.
Yes, 8 months.
Hey, listen. Yeah. Hey, you were on campus, okay? It does not matter. Yeah. I really appreciate you being so honest about what you've been struggling with and giving out advice, because I think a lot of people need it during this time. I really do appreciate you. Kevin Love, you are a really great human. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.